Hello, friends. This is Pastor Jenny, and I love you very, very much. And this video is all about my clinical depression and my faith and how frustrated I'm feeling today. Now, why do I, sorry. Just adjusting this before I get on the road, because once I get on the road, I cannot be touching this. Right? Sorry. There you go. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. So why do I want to make a video about being depressed? Well, for starters, because I like to be transparent. You know, I've been writing this book about transparency like for over 12 years, and I never get around to finishing it. But in my life, I try to be transparent, and I want to be transparent. I want to be transparent because I'm absolutely certain that there are people right now watching this video that struggle with depression. And there are two types of depression. There is the depression that is situational, the depression that we feel when something really sad happens to us, when we are stuck in a difficult relationship, in a difficult situation, and there's no way out. That is situational depression. But there is something called clinical depression. And clinical depression has to do with a chemical imbalance. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain, and it has to do with the lack of specific chemicals that your brain is not producing. And in my life, I've had both. I've had clinical depression, and I have had situational depression. And I will tell you something though. Having clinical depression makes situational depression much, much worse. I've always told people when I explain what depression is, that depression is like a dark cloud. Depression is also like a pair of tinted glasses, like the one I'm wearing right now. And everything you look at through the glasses will distort your reality. Things will look a lot worse than they really are. Things will look a lot sadder, harder, insurmountable, and overwhelming than they really are. The worst part is that although rationally you know that, emotionally you don't. You can't tell. And because you can't tell, the anguish is real. Now, when at least there's a reason, a situational reason to be sad, it's right, like at least you can put your finger on what's going on. What stinks about clinical depression sometimes, like today, is that sometimes there is absolutely no reason whatsoever. None. I just had a great conversation with my husband for a few minutes. I had a great day at work. My children are healthy. I have a roof over my head. I have a good job. I have friends like you guys. I have no reason to be depressed. And so the temptation is to beat myself up. The temptation is to slap myself and say, Jenny, what's wrong with you? But I was just talking to a gentleman. My last meeting today was all about self-care and loving one another. And he knows that I'm a pastor. And he was saying, you know, he's like, if Jesus knew that we didn't love ourselves the right way, he would have not asked us to love others as we love ourselves. To which I retorted, well, I think what Jesus meant when he said, love your neighbor as you love yourself, he was trying to establish the right priority, right? That we can't take care of others unless we take care of us first. And the truth is, if somebody came to me and they told me that they were depressed for no reason and that they struggle with depression or with anxiety, I would be very kind. I would say I'm going to pray for you. I would say it's going to be okay. This is temporary. It will pass. It's not your fault. You're doing everything that you need to do. Hang in there. It will get better. But because it's happening to me, I tend to want to slap myself silly and say, Jenny, you have no reason to be depressed. Stop this stupidity. But here's the deal. Clinical depression and mental illness as a whole is a real thing. If you are watching this and you don't believe in depression, you have a right not to. But most likely you don't believe in it because it hasn't happened to you. But it has been documented. It has been studied. There's actually issues in our brain chemistry that cause mental illness. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't make us worse people. It only makes us different. Mental illness, I will say it once, I will say it again, is like having diabetes. It's like having your arm on a cast. It's like having a physical pain. It's like having cancer. The only difference is that you cannot see it. And because you cannot see it, you point your finger and you say it's not there. And that is a lie and it needs to stop. And this is probably why I'm doing this video, because I believe in life and I believe in injecting life in everybody that comes to me. And I want to inject life right now in the hearts and in the minds of anybody that's watching this video and that's feeling sad and depressed and you don't know why, or if you do know why, your clinical depression is making it even worse. And I want to tell you that there is hope. There is hope. And things are going to get much, much better tomorrow. Just hang in there. Because if you, like me, struggle with depression, you know that just as it comes, it leaves. It never advertises when it's coming. And sometimes it never advertises when it's leaving. And even if you are on the proper regimen of medication, it may still do that. And even after you take medication for a while, at some point, the medications were off, your body gets used to it, and then you may need something else. So, it happens. And I'm here, driving from work, I'm heading to church, I'm going to glorify my God, I'm going to share the word with my friends and my family. I have no problem whatsoever confessing you and telling you that I'm depressed. Now, if you believe in positive confession and you are going to tell me that I need to speak life and that there is power in the words I say, I'm going to ask you to keep that opinion to yourself. I know the word of God and I know it says that. And although I need to be very careful, and we all need to be very careful what we say with our mouth, because truly there's power and there's life in it. The reality is that nowhere in the Bible does God relate that to denying reality. When Jesus met someone that was ill, he said, "What do you want me to do for you?" When Jesus stretched his hand to heal the sick, he was acknowledging that there was sickness. And he said that when we had a need or when we needed something from him, he said, persist. Knock and keep on knocking. Look and keep on looking. And then the door will be open to you. He specifically asked us to persist. Why would he ask us to persist in prayer and supplication if he was denying reality? Ladies and gentlemen, I love God with all of my heart, but I have clinical depression and anxiety for which I take medication. It helps me most of the time. And then other times, like today, I don't feel so good. I'm making this video to vent. I'm making this video to let you know, if you're going through depression, that it is going to be okay. All I ask is that you won't let it stop you or define you. Because tomorrow, when the alarm sets off at 5:45, no matter how I feel, I will get up, I will go to the gym, and then I will go to work, And I will continue helping people, praying for people, and being who God has created me to be in spite of my depression. I will never let depression and anxiety define me. It may knock me down for a little. I may shed a few tears, but I will get up and I will move, because, ladies and gentlemen, if you or me allow depression to define what we do, make no mistake about it, it will take over. It will take over if you let it. Mental illness will take over if you let it. But there are thousands upon thousands of people like me that, in spite of mental illness, live fruitful lives. In spite of mental illness, have children and husbands and wives and jobs and ministry. Because nobody would doubt that someone with diabetes can be a minister and a Christian. Nobody would accuse someone that has cancer that they don't have enough faith, right? So why would you accuse someone that has mental illness that they lack faith just because they have a disease that you cannot see? If you are one of those individuals that says that, shame on you, because I tell you what, people like me that struggle with mental illness and depression don't need any added pain. We need to be supported, we need to be encouraged, and we need to be rooted on. So I ask that you will pray and that you will reconsider your position towards individuals with mental illness if you are one of those that likes to treat us as if we are a second class citizen or a second class Christians. And I ask that if you are a person that suffers with clinical depression or anxiety or any other type of mental illness, I ask that you will feel your pain, that you will pray, but that you will dust yourself up and never, never, ever, 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 ever allow depression or mental illness to define you. Let it be something that you can use to encourage others, as I am encouraging you right now. My friends, this was Pastor Jenny with 5 minutes of life, which always end up being a lot more than 5 minutes. I love you guys very much. Thanks for listening. Leave me your comments. I want to hear what you have to say, but be nice. Remember our motto: we are always better when we stick together. I love you guys. Good night.